I'm Guy Kesterton, the Tester Man, and this is a catch-up on my Trek Top Fuel project build, which I've been running in the kind of default format of 130mm fork, 120mm rear shock travel up until now. I've done a ton of riding on it, and it's been great. And look, tell you what, while I'm chatting to you, I may as well just grab the bike off the rack. God, I love these stashed racks. These are genuine. That was a fairly blatant excuse just to drag the bike into a shot there, but it is bloody good to work with. I mean, I've only had it a few days now, but it is proper grand. Proper job. It's a proper Guy Martin there. Yeah, proper job this. Anyway, like I was saying, been running stock, 120. Still the RockShox Deluxe Ultimate in the back, Manitou Mattoc in the front, but I'm going to swap it up to 130 rear, 140 front, but keeping those same components in there. So, obviously what we need to do first, I mean, I occasionally get comments from people who don't know me going, you should do maintenance videos, like workshop videos, sort of how-tos. Because, you must know your way around bikes. I do to a certain extent. But on the other hand, anyone who does know me and has seen me work on bikes knows that the way I approach bike maintenance is kind of like comparing sort of premium Airbnb to Hostel, the horror movie series. And I'm very much at the dark and nasty end of that spectrum. Yeah. This, I mean, obviously I'm kind of doing it in the same way that I'm sure you guys would. I don't know if I could get the right Allen key to start with. Was it a 6? Did I have it right first? I didn't have it right. Oh, see, there we go. We're already off to a cracking start. Oh, yeah, it makes some noise like kind of Transylvanian horror movie. Probably should have some grease in there. We'll be doing a Manitou full fork review, because this battery runs for a while now. Oh, stop that. But yeah, yes. Where was I? I mean, I'm going to be using it the same way as you probably would if you're doing maintenance home, which is basically making the best job I can with the tools I've got, using YouTube as my instruction guide. And, I mean, I've already changed the travel in these forks. It actually came as a 140 and I chopped them down to 130. I don't remember that being that bad. But I thought, let's give it a go. Let's do it on camera, because if anything's going to make it go badly wrong, it's having that GoPro running over there. So, obviously first, we'll take the forks off, and then we take the rear shock off. But what I was getting to, the point I was getting to is, don't expect this to be an instructional manual that you will follow, and almost certainly it's going to be a hatchet job on the rear shock. To be honest, I'm not going to pull it all apart because that requires specialist tools. I'm going to get it open, get in there, whip the travel spacer out, probably by cutting it out because that saves a lot of disassembly, and yeah, hopefully it all goes back together and I don't scratch anything or make anything unpleasantly harmed in the long run. Because I've got Sid coming front and rear to take this down to 120 build in a lightweight format, which I know a lot of you are very keen to see. And I've got Lyric and Super Deluxe coming as well to take it up to 140 rear. No, 130, still be 130 rear, but 150 front. Kind of heavyweight, the heaviest hitting build we can go on this frame, and but that's not. They're not going to be ready. Last time I spoke to RockShox, that's not going to happen till sometime in the new year. So what I'm doing in a couple of days is I've actually got a bunch of Fox gear. Why am I taking the light bracket off? Irrelevant side questing. Should be my specialist subject and mastermind if I ever went on there. Yeah, so I've got a 36 and a 34 Fox, but both of them have got grip 2 dampers on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to Fox Service Centre this week and get them upgraded to Grip X on the 34, because that's the more trail one, and then Grip X2 on the 36. So I'll be able to put both of those forks in there and hopefully get some interesting shocks to play with on the back end as well. See what I can get out of Fox for those builds. Again, the whole point of getting this frame in and building it up was as a test bed for as much kit as possible, and that's where the versatility of this frame really is its value. So yeah, right, that's enough of me chatting. I really ought to concentrate now, and you don't really need to see me pull apart the bike any more than that. So hopefully the next time the GoPro turns on, that fork and the shock will be out, and we'll be ready to get intravenous and change the travel up on them without too many hitches. Nothing like tempting Providence, is there? See you in a minute. Okay, so fork is out of the bike now, which means the first thing we need to do is now depressurize the air spring. And actually, it's air springs on this Manitou, because obviously the last thing you want is the fork still being pressurized when you pull it apart, or that's going to basically explode everything out the end of it. So we've got 80 psi in there at the moment. There we go, and you can see it's shrunk down a little bit on the travel. So what I normally do is sort of best practice is do sort of both ends twice, just in case there's air gets in. See, again, you've got this Dorado air spring has top and bottom fills, because you've got the main spring and then IRT, infinite rate, I think. Infinite, yeah. Can't remember. Infinite rate something. Travel? No, it wouldn't be travel. But anyway, infinite rate tuning, maybe. Should really know that. Anyway, whatever it's meant to stand for, I need to get all of that air out of there before it turns the fork into a lethal weapon when we pull it apart and it all goes in our face. What I should do, always put your small bits somewhere safe. It's wise advice for anyone, really. To be honest, this is the only glitch I've been having with this fork recently. There we go, it's finally depressed the pin. Been really struggling. I was trying to do a bit of adjustment on the trail the other week, and I couldn't actually get the pin to depress in the bottom end. Because basically, well, I'll do a full review, but basically use this spring to balance the main air spring. And it's really, really useful for changing the feel at the start, at the end of the stroke. Basically acts as kind of like a pressurized bottom out bumper, which you can adjust, and that changes how linear the fork feels, how much it ramps up, where it ramps up, and all sorts of stuff like that. So really useful feature. So we've emptied that one, and now we'll go back up to the top of the fork and empty that as well again. To be honest, on this, probably because there's not much in here. Yeah, actually it was fine. There's no more pressure in there, so and still, see, nice and smooth still. Like I say, this, apart from, there we go, it's moving now. But no air coming out of that. So, time to watch the YouTube video off of the Manitou channel and start to get inside it. And obviously, different fork designs are put together differently, but what you'll find is pretty much all of them. You need to just start. It's sequential. It's kind of structural archaeology, really. So, getting the end there, and then it's just a case of taking these lock nuts off
Again, should probably give that a bit more of a clean. It's a bit dirty in there, because obviously the last thing you want is bits of contamination dropping into the internals of the fork. As I say, definitely more of a hostel style setup here than a proper surgical one, as you get from a suspension servicing professional. But give your forks or suspension, or give anything you're working on your bike the best chance of surviving your intervention by keeping things as clean as possible. So I'll get a nice clean rag in there and get that tidied up before I actually open it up and start sliding things apart. Okay, so this is very much a bit of Kestevanization here, but as I'm sliding the upper legs off, I've kept the fork kind of upright, because I know I've put fresh oil in this recently, so I may as well try and use the oil that's still in it, and also it just stops the fork from leaking too much. So what I've done is I've blocked the bottom of each leg where the bolts were sticking through with Nerf darts. They're foam, they fit really accurately, and hopefully this means that when I pull the fork apart, then so I've got to be careful. The last time I did this, it actually ate the Nerf darts. So it's not a foolproof method. Oh, there we go. Come on, out you come. Don't be, no. Because obviously, as that fork upper pulls out, it creates a bit of a vacuum. So let's just keep an eye on that. Come on. It is keen. It's keen to, maybe, hang on, let's reduce a little bit of pressure. Yeah, okay, we've got some pressure out there, but we haven't lost any oil so far. There's a good overlap. I mean, it's quite a stiff, Makes you realise, that's the, if you haven't seen a fork pulled apart, there's quite an old trombone going on there. Come on, Manitou, hey, come, you come. There we go. And again, be as gentle as you can. And hopefully, not only is it coming out clean, but we're not wasting. There we go. Right. So now, she's off. So we'll sit that there. And then we're ready to start changing the air spring. I mean, we're not changing the damper. We're not changing that side. That side doesn't need changing. It's this side we need to get into and change the it's just a spacer. I mean, by the way, you can't do this on all forks. It's a big plus for the Manitous that the travel change is relatively simple, and it's part of the design process. In a lot of forks, you need to actually change the air spring shaft, which obviously is a lot more expensive. This actually comes with the travel spacers in the kit with the forks, so big plus for Manitou, and it's one of the main reasons I use this Manitou Mattoc fork in the Trek build. Not only did it look good with the frame and the black and silver decals, but also because you can change the travel, that means it's a really cost-effective way of making the most of that Trek frame. So, right, I'm not going to try and do this with one hand while talking to you. I'll just double-check the YouTube video, and then we'll get inside and get that spacer off. Okay, so this is a classic bit of Kestevan improvisation. So you actually get, with the fork, you should get a special tool that reaches around this air spring shaft. It does the same job, but if you just depress the air spring valve, you can actually push the air spring all the way up inside. So you can just use a standard cassette buckling tool. You don't have to find that special tool, which inevitably either wasn't. I can't actually remember seeing it in the package. I remember I got the spacers, I got the mudguard, I got the stickers, but I couldn't find the tool. But again, just everything, take your time, be gentle. These are sensitive creatures, the forks, so probably not ideal. Definitely not ideal doing it on a jumper that the dog's been sleeping in, but Let's unscrew that, and there we go. Right, so again, because you're dealing with a bunch of pressurized chambers here, you'll often find if there's some kind of pneumatic resistance going on, that probably means you need to undo the spring at some point. So there we go. Yeah, just depress that spring at the top end then. And then there we go. We nearly saw it then. There we go. Those are the spacers. So, oh, there's one off. Oh, come on, don't be like that. Just a little bit more air out. Come on. There we go. And those are the two travel spacers. So, together, as you can see, that is your 1 centimetre spacer. So taking that out means the travel is now going to go from 130 up to 140. So we'll measure the oil. Well, we'll just put a little bit of oil back in there. I don't think we're going to, I mean, obviously you don't need to re-grease these because they're out now. So put those over there. And yeah. Just put a tiny bit more suspension oil in there, just to top out what's gone out. Make sure everything's clean, and then get it back together. So, like I say, a really, really simple job. I mean, it's a great, and you'd be amazed. There are a lot of these jobs which sound terrifying, but actually, once you start doing them, as long as you're patient, as long as you're clean, in inverted commas, they turn out to be not nearly as terrifying as you want. It's like brake bleeding, all kinds of things like that. As soon as you get fluids involved and you're starting to get inside quite a delicate piece of technology, it's very easy to get worried. And if you are worried, no shame in going to a suspension tuner or something like that, or, just getting your local shop to do it. But when it's a relatively simple job like this, then, you give it a go. Why not give it a go? Or even if you've just got, if you're throwing a pair of forks away anyway, if you bought new ones, then just get inside the old ones. Just practice, whenever you can. If you ever get a chance to practice on some old kit, just get in there. It's interesting to see how these things are put together. And so, yeah, there we go. Anyway, the less time it spends in the open, potentially collecting crap, the better. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to get it cleaned up, get some oil in, and then put it back together. Okay. Okay, and just while the fork's apart, just may as well get some fresh grease in the wiper seals here. Always get a bit of clean grease in there. I mean, you need suspension grease. Don't just use any old grease. So, got suspension assembly grease here from PE's. Again, just a little bit in there. Don't want too much, but just a little bit around those seals there, and check for any damage on the seals while you're doing this too. And check for any damage on the sliders as well. Just have a look down. Yeah, maybe get a torch in there. Just check that there's nothing looking knackered or scratchy. Check the stanchions as well. Check they're good. They're not got any worn patches on them or anything like that, because obviously that's when things start getting expensive. And also, one particular thing you've got to be careful of when putting together these Manitous again is the fact that, of course, the brace is on the back with these forks. So most forks, you check the crown and the brace will be in the front on the lower legs. But on these, because Manitou run a reverse strategy, then I mean, you can get proper purpose-made fork clamps, but on the other hand, you go, wait! There you go. That's the air spring in action there. So, again, that feels nice. Feels nice and smooth. And we can just see the damper rod and the air spring rod coming through at the end there. But before we completely close those off, I'm just going to top them up with a little bit. I mean, like I said, we've not lost much. So just put a few mils in either side, because this isn't, I mean, obviously this isn't the damper, it's a TPC damper, it's a sealed damper on this, so that's really just lubricating oil, but you don't want to overload it, because that can actually get in the way of that can actually, you know, effectively change the volume of the bottom of the fork, and actually in some cases almost have a mini suspension effect there. And then get that on, hold it all together, mop that oil up, and then get the far side in place as well. Get the nut onto there. Again, yeah, these are quite delicate things. There's almost some lightweight aluminium going on, and you don't want to strip anything. So, you know, use torque meter, set to the right amount. Don't over torque anything, because that's when things go badly wrong. And then just need to fit the damping adjuster. Is it 2 mil? No, must be the one down from that. Where is it? I had it earlier. Let's stick it in here. And that's the other thing, the more organised you are with your tools, the easier it is. Plus, I shouldn't be just leaving everything open and undone. That's bad vibes, that is. What I need to do is it's just bad. It's just bad habit, isn't it? Don't leave that there. Put the top back on that, Kesterman. Tell you what, why don't you even try doing it with 2 hands? Because you can put those forks down now. Oh, and the other thing that's always worth doing, don't dispose of that properly. Don't be tempted. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of oil, but don't be tempted to drop that straight back in. It's the same with brake fluid or any kind of hydraulic fluid. It's already come out. It's potentially dirty, so I mean, it's only that much. Plus, if you just go to your motorbike shop and you get your fork oil from there, it is so much cheaper. Make sure you get the right weight. Obviously, this is 5 weight. And that's within, you know, within the bracket that Manitou are happy with you using, but it's so much cheaper than buying specific fork oil, which isn't actually specific mountain bike fork oil. It's like CO2 cartridges being sold for puncture repair. It's way cheaper to get them from somewhere online that does catering, bizarrely, for creme brulee guns or air guns. You get CO2 cartridges really cheap off airgun sites. So dispose of that responsibly, in the right way. Don't just tip it down the drain. Shouldn't ever do that with oil and stuff like that. So find out where you can get rid of oil lately, and you know, just have a bottle under your workbench where all your old waste oil goes. Just anything spare can go in that, and then when you get a chance, when you go up to the tip of your cardboard or your Christmas tree in a month or so, and just take it up there then and tip it away nice and cleanly. So yeah, now it's just a case of repressurising the fork and giving it a once over and then getting it back in the bike. And one thing I forgot to say, which is really important at this stage when you're putting the fork back together. I mean, obviously I've changed travel on these, so I'm not expecting the numbers to be exactly the same, but whenever you find a sweet spot, whenever you do any adjustment on your suspension, write the numbers down. Write the damper number down, write the write the damper clicks down, write the air pressures down, everything. If you found a sweet spot with your setup, record it. So when you put the stuff back together, you've got a good baseline to go back to on it. Okay? Otherwise, I mean, most forks now have some kind of setup advice on the table on the leg. But if you spent time getting your fork set up to its sweet spot, or your rear shock set up to its sweet spot, write the numbers down before you pull them apart, and then makes it a lot easier to get back somewhere like ballpark of your preferences when you put them back together again. And one thing that's definitely worth doing before you put the fork back in the bike is actually checking that, you know, it works roughly as intended. So there you go. There's no unpleasant noises. There's no top out. Everything feels pretty secure, feels nice and smooth. You can see that fresh grease on the wiper seals there, that's fine. You know, give it a bit of a cycle, just somewhere safe. You know, don't go straight into a black run. If you just pulled your fork or any other part of your suspension apart, just give it a bit of a car park test, check everything's okay, but obviously makes sense to check it when you're in the workshop as well, just so you know everything is kind of fundamentally okay, everything feels tight and shipshape, and you haven't wasted time putting it back in the bike if it isn't working properly. But pretty confident in that, feels right. And there we go. Travel, certainly if we extend it. Now, yeah, there we go, 140, right up to where it should be, from 130 before. Yeah, that's right, because this does, you know, some forks don't run all the way to the top. You know, you find some forks don't actually push all the way to the crown, but this Manitou definitely does. So, 140mm ready to go in for that Trek Top Fuel transformation. Okay, so, as for fork back in, let's get the air spring caps back on, tweak the front brake, got the alignment right on that, using those original Manitou post mounts. Of course, Manitou were the first people to actually use post mounts on forks. That didn't spin very well, did it? That's better. We'll bed it in on the trail, eh? But yeah, those are the Manitou were the first people to use post mounts, which enabled easier adjustment than IS standard mounts, although they became the international standard, hence IS standard, but then forks went back to post mounts. So there you go, a little bit of a history lesson. But now, time to turn our attention to the RockShox Deluxe Ultimate Shock on the back of the Trek. Right, so time to get the shock out. So first, make sure everything isn't overloaded, so you can move the back end easily. Take out the rear wheel, because otherwise, you know, we'll have to put the cage lock on. There we go. Right, let's get that out of there. Put that there so I don't lose it for once. And yeah. Throw the other key on the floor, because that always helps. And then, like I say, if you take the back wheel out, it means that this isn't all. I haven't got the extra weight of that wheel hanging off there, so everything's a bit easier to move about. Obviously, if you've got, like this bike's got flip chips in the bottom to change the progression, change the ride height. So make sure, again, just have a little parts pot ready to put those bits into. This makes things a bit easier. Oh, that was loose, to be fair. That was a bit loose. Looser than the others. Yeah, that one's alright. That was the wrong size. I was surprised at that top mount. That was loose. There's been no rocking or anything. Alright, that's alright this side. And again, this one's relatively simple. It's just a nice quick trunnion mount. And actually the tolerances are good, so it comes in and out nice and cleanly. Although interestingly, just a little bit of paint off the front there. And you can see that the bike is actually red underneath. So that must be the... That doesn't seem right. I wonder if they've just masked it off. Because that would seem like that's the insert there. Or at least that's the overlay, the red bit. Maybe. How come... Oh, maybe the black is the overlay. Anyway, doesn't really matter in terms of the shock, does it? But yeah, again, while we're in, just check the bearings there. Again, that's the advantage of a trunnion mount. You've got nice smooth bearings at the top of the shock, not just bushings, and yeah, that all feels nice and smooth. Nothing waggling or wobbling there. So yeah, apart from that top bolt being loose, all feeling hunky dory. But you know, while you got the wheel out, just have a fettle around in here looking for any junk that's gone up inside the internal cable and hose route in there, and just have a look around while you've got more access to the back of the bike. Just check how clean it is, and then we'll get that shock over into the vise and get it open. And again, before we go any further, let's get that shock pump onto there. It's weird because I'm doing it the other way up. So again, check what pressures you're running and write that down so I know where to baseline it from next time. And then make sure all that pressure is out the shock, because obviously any pressure in there is going to make it dangerous but also difficult to work on. So yeah, just the one damping setting on there. Right, bingo. Get that out of the way. And hopefully this is a pretty simple job. It's just a case of, at the moment it's stroke to 50mm, so we'll just get in there. Strap wrench, available again, another thing. I mean, you probably can get bike specific ones. But, right, the only problem I always have with these is which way around they go. To tighten and loosen. Yeah, again, you can get them, I'm sure, mountain bike specific ones, but you can also just get them from any good motoring shop. There'll just be an oil, called an oil filter wrench or something like that. Here we go. I thought I was going to have to get ugly with it then. And get some a wrench plier involved, because that's the last resort. But obviously these can walls are super thin. So I've clamped the shock by its trunnion mount there. And again, just double check there's no air left in there, so this can doesn't end up in the ceiling. There we go. Right, lift her away. we can get inside the shop. Right, so those of a sensitive disposition are going to want to look away now, because obviously the correct way to get this travel spacer off, because it's a full circle of plastic. That's what that's the piece that stops it being. That's the piece that keeps it 50 rather than 55mm. We'd have to take the shaft off there, or at least take all the end off the piston that's still up inside the shock here, and do pretty much a full rebuild on the shock. However, like I said, I'm an absolute savage, so I'm going to see how much I can get through it with a pair of snips. Now, this might not even work. One thing we don't want to do, there we go, that's a promising start, is good little snips these. Look at that. There we go, that's cracked all the way through. That's good. That's good. We like that. That's a good thing. Make sure we don't damage that washer, and watch my grip strength's not been great since the double whammy of the tandem crash and that hand plant. That's testing the high tower, if you remember that one. Come on. Yeah, like I say, I imagine this voids pretty much any warranty going on this poor shock. Yay! There we go. Boom. Sensitive spacer treatment there. We're not still not all quite the way through. I think we'll have another go on this side. Tell you what, let's stop this hideous torture of the shock, and we'll come back when it's sorted. Okay, so got that little blue fragment off there, because that, I mean, it looks tiny, but that would be enough to cause a serious issue if that was left in there. The travel spacer, I don't think we'll be going back to a 50mm stroke on this shock. I think we're pretty much done there. I mean, you could liberate a bit more travel. I know I did on the Fox on this bike, on the alloy top fuel. When I converted the travel on that, you can actually change the bottom out bumper. I say change. What I mean is you can cut chunks off it, because the guys at Trek said it's actually quite a long bottom out bumper. That can cause slight issues, so let's just check. Everything seems alright. Yeah, miraculously, I don't seem to have damaged the shaft in any way, so I'm going to put a tiny little bit of suspension fluid back in there. Yes, it is the dregs I had left over from the fork service. But now, just a case of, there we go, boom. That was easy. Just apply a bit of pressure as she goes in. There we go. Sometimes that can be a right fight. I mean, depending on the shock you're working with, that can be a right fight sometimes. Then, of course, make sure you cinch that can back up good and tight. So now, ready to put it back in the bike. And you'll notice in reviews I often mention that having a trunnion mount with the bearings up there increases suspension sensitivity. But you can see, I mean, there's absolutely no issue with the shock movement there. So it is a genuine thing. It's not just one of those things that people claim in marketing spiel. It really does make a difference, that lack of resistance. And also, it's not just the fact that it means the suspension moves that little bit more freely. Come on, here we go. The suspension moves that little bit more freely. It's just things like there's less wear sideways because the shock's moving easily. It's not 6 mil. Yes. It's not kind of binding. Oh, that's a 5. God, where is it? There we go. Nice Allen keys, these chromed design ones, but let's put some colour tabs on them maybe. so I know I'm picking up the right one. I should be able to guess. Maybe wrenching in the workshop till 2:30 isn't the best answer to tool sentience. But yeah, anyway, sorry, what I was saying is there's just less wear on the shock in general because it's moving smoother. There's no side load. The whole shock's just floating and basically being looked after better. So while we're here, let's just go around and check all those bolts. And again, if you have got torque settings on bolts, there we go. You know, you may as well use them, but don't expect, make sure you do check what the settings are on the heads of the different bolts, because here we've got 17 newton meters and they're only 8 newton meters. So just change the head and then we'll snug those up to the appropriate torque. Unfortunately, hit a bit of a snag here. This only actually goes up to 14 newton meters, but we'll do it to that at least. And then what was it on the others? 8, wasn't it? Oh, sorry, no, 14 on that one. Yeah, that one's snug. That one's snug. And then this one's the 8 down here. There we go. That's our tolerance already. Bingo. Right, pressure back up. Then we're good to go. Okay, so you spotted the obvious mistake there. We do not just pressure it up and jump on, do we? What we do, because this shock has a negative spring that self-sets at the positive chamber, that means you need to push it past that port so it self-sets. So, there we go. Let's push it nicely through the stroke. That will reset, then we'll add a bit more pressure, and we basically just keep doing this until we're back at that operating pressure, because otherwise what will happen is you'll jump on the bike and the pressure will suddenly, well, it'll either just feel horribly topped out and won't move at all because there's no negative spring going on. So if you want your bike to feel like an epic World Cup from Specialized, then by all means. There we go, that's going past the transfer port. You should be able to feel it. If you're not just bouncing around like a baboon, being a little bit more sensitive, you'll be able to feel, certainly as you pressurise it the first couple of times, you'll be able to feel it go past that transfer point and just fill up that other spring. But that's feeling about right. So check the just unscrew it. Have to take it right off as long as the valve's shut. What's the sag? Not quite at riding weight, so that's about what, 28, 29%. It's probably about right. Once you get me packed and kit on. Obviously, take your shock pump with you on your first ride, but I'm happy with that. Ready for the first ride. So, there we go. That is the conversion of this Trek Top Fuel twisted build from 130 to 140 up front and from 120 to 130 at the rear. So, 10mm travel increase either end. And it's going to be interesting to see how that affects things. But I think you've watched enough butchery in the middle of the night in the workshop. Hopefully I haven't done anything hideous. Didn't see anything. I mean, I've definitely done hideous things. Do not, if you want to keep your warranty intact or your, any kind of respect from your mechanic friends, do not indulge in this kind of behaviour. I must say that. I probably should say it at the beginning as well. I'll put a caption in there. But it just proves that, certainly if you pick your kit right, that you don't have to spend a fortune to make significant changes to the performance of your bike. Hopefully, in a positive. Well, let's see. I certainly really like the when I put the Trek Top Fuel, the alloy bike into 130 at the rear. I didn't get around to changing the fork, but even with that shock change on the rear, that felt like a big step up in smoothness and capability. You're actually losing weight, really. I mean, because it's only a few milligrams from cutting out a plastic spacer in the rear and taking out some plastic spacers in the front, but it's actually lighter with more travel, and that's normally not the way things go. So that's the end of this video, but make sure you click for notifications and subscribe so you don't miss out on my first ride on Twisted Trek Top Fuel. Long travel? Mid-travel. It's not the longest it can go. Let's call it mid-travel. And let's see how that goes. Because I'm just about to go head up right now. You'll see how that goes when I hit the trails at Stainburn. So, hope I haven't horrified you too much, but given you a bit of an insight into the insides of the Manitou Mattoc and the RockShox Deluxe Ultimate Rear Shock, and proved, beyond all doubt, that I'm less of a bike mechanic and more of a bike murderer. But, thanks for watching anyway. I've been Guy Kez on Guy Kez TV. See you for that live ride.